Alright, doing the sound check. Sound check. Alright, sound good. Alright, so I'll get straight to it. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Hashem Shai, Hashem Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Shalom to the brothers in the highways and byways pushing this word now, sincerity and truth. The sisters, the believers, the helps. Shalom. This is Brother Arawam from James Jamaica Camp. And I'm just coming with another quick lesson. This time it's from the book of Ezekiel, chapter 16. And you know, just showing that at this point we're actually being exposed, and the elect is being exposed as a bride to the Lord Yahweh Shai, with what's happening in these last days. We understand in the prophecies, we've been blessed with faith through the mercies and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. We get in the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of these scriptures. It's us actually receiving glory from the Most High. It's basically glory, or the first stage of glory, because this is what actually will lead to salvation, and this is what will lead to the elect's um salvation, the glory of Israel, the glory of the elect. You know. So starting with the first precept, this is Ezekiel chapter 16, starting at verse 3, and say, thus say Yahweh, power unto Jerusalem, thy birth and thy nativity is of the land of Canaan. Thy father was an Amorite, and thy mother a Hittite. And as for thy nativity, in the day that thou was born, thy navel was not cut, neither was thou washed in water to supple thee. Thou was not salted at all, nor swaddled at all. None I pitied thee, to do any of these unto thee, to have compassion upon thee. But thou wast cast out in the open field, to the loathing of thy person in the day that thou was born. Right? So basically, the Lord basically showed that in the beginning we were nothing, because what he did, he actually called Abraham, from among his people, and caused him to sojourn in the land of Canaan. Right? It says, verse 6 says, and when I passed by thee and saw thee polluted in thy own blood, I said unto thee, when thou was in thy blood, live. Yea, I said unto thee, when thou was in thy blood, live. Right? And basically, this is when he actually called unto our father Abraham, right? And basically made the covenant, right? I have caused thee to multiply as the bud of the field, and thou hast increased and waxen great, and thou art come to excellent ornaments. Thy breast was fashioned, and thy hair is grown, whereas thou was naked and bare. Exactly. So in the beginning, we as a nation, we were nothing. We didn't have anything. We got built up by the spirit and power of the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai, right? And just like back then, it's kind of similar now, with us being cast off in the wilderness, being scattered through the four corners of the earth. The Lord actually speak unto us. This is also based on Ezekiel 38 or Ezekiel 37. With the dry bones, the prophecy of the dry bones. Let me just take a quick look so I can quote the right chapter in regards to the valley of the dry bones. Yes, Ezekiel 37, right? With basically the dry bones and the breath of life entered into the dead bodies. That vision being done to us is also the Lord coming back unto us. What we were once the Lord's wives, so to speak. According to the scripture, Israel is let me get it real quick. Jeremiah chapter 5. Oh, verse 6, chapter 6, Jeremiah 6, verse 2, have likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and delicate woman, right? So we actually was was likened unto a woman, but also we were married unto the Lord Yahweh. We as a nation was married unto the Most High, right? Right. This is Jeremiah 3, verse 1. It says, they say, if a man put away his wife and she go from him and become another man's, shall he return unto her again? Shall not the land be greatly polluted? But thou hast played the harlot with many lovers, yet return again to me, saith Yahweh. Exactly. So the Lord is actually saying to return unto him, right? And also on another sense, we being separated from the Lord, we gain back we actually being joined back to the Lord through the Son, Yahweh Shai. We been exposed unto Yahweh, unto Yahweh Shai, right? And also in the law there's a part that if a man actually betrothed is a daughter unto his son, he will deal with her unto the manner of daughters, meaning that he might treat her like a daughter, right? So right there again it shows how we actually become one with Yahweh through Yahweh Shai. Because we were once with the Most High, we got cast off, and now Yahweh Shai is that mediator to ensure that we get joined back to the Lord, right? Another precept to prove that we were nothing before the Lord actually brought us up. This is Deuteronomy 32, verse 8. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. For Yahweh's portion is his people, Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. He found him in a desert land and in the waste howling wilderness. He led him about, he instructed him, he kept him as the apple of his eye. As an eagle stirred up her nest, fluttered over her young, spreaded abroad her wings, taketh them, beareth them on her wings, so Yahweh alone did lead him, and there was no strange God with him. He made him to ride on the high places of the earth, that he might eat the increase of the fields, and he made him to suck honey out of the rock, and oil out of the flint rock, butter of kine, and of milk of sheep, with fat of lambs, and rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats with the fat of the kidneys of wheat, and thou didst drink the pure blood of the grape, right? But Jeshurun, which is another name for Israel, waxed fat and kicked, and art waxen fat, thou art grown thick, thou art covered with fatness. Then he forsook the Most High, which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation, right? And as you go through the chapter, it actually explains how Israel actually went from the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai. So it's the same, it's a similar or the same thing being explained in Ezekiel 16, verse 8, right? But as it says I'm going to read verse 8 again, it says, and now I look, and now when I passed by thee and looked upon thee, behold, I was the time, Salakia, no, that was right, verse 7. It says, I caused thee to multiply as the bud of the field, and thou hast increased and waxen great, and thou art come to excellent ornaments. Thy breasts are fashioned, and thine hair is grown, whereas thou was naked and bare. Exactly. So it's the same thing that was explained in Deuteronomy. And as I stated before as well, is that we're in the same predicament at this time, but we're actually being adorned, as Ezekiel 16 is going to go into right now, how we're going to be adorned and be prepared for the coming of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, right? Verse 8, it says, and when I passed by thee and looked upon thee, behold, thy time was the time of love, and I spread my skirt over thee and covered thy nakedness. Yea, I swear unto thee and entered into a covenant with thee, say Yahweh, and thou becamest mine. Right? And now we're under that what? Under the new covenant, which is what? Which is faith in the Lord Yahweh Shai. right? Hebrews 8 going to the new covenant, hence the word New Testament, which is the new agreement, right? Verse 9 says, Then I washed thee with water, yea, I thoroughly washed away thy blood from thee, and I anointed thee with oil, right? And how were we washed? Right? Ephesians, let me get that real quick. Ephesians 5, verse 20. This is Ephesians 5, verse 20, verse 26. Look here. It says, That he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. Right? And also in St. John 17, it says, What? Sanctify them through thy truth. Thy word is truth. Right? So we basically been washed from the philosophies of these heathen nations, actually coming back to our nationality, to our true heritage, to our true customs, coming back to our God, getting back our pure language, ultimately receiving salvation to be placed in our own land, you know, salvation. All of that is being done through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, through faith in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai and the understanding of the true doctrine, right? Um, verse 6, verse 10, Salakia, I clothed thee also with broidered work, and shod thee with badger's skin, and I girded thee about with fine linen, and I covered thee with silk. Right? And also there was a precept that I saw earlier that stated that the Lord clothed us with righteousness. Let me see if I can find it back real quick. One second, Akim. Oh, can yeah, I have it in the pipeline, so yeah, I'll just wait. Right? It says, verse 10 again, I clothed thee with broidered work and shod thee with badger's skin. I girded thee about with fine linen, and I covered thee with silk. I decked thee also with ornaments, and I put bracelets upon thy hands, and a chain on thy neck, right? Which is also wisdom, right? And I put a jewel on thy forehead, and earrings in thine ears, and a beautiful crown upon thy head. Thus was thou decked with gold and silver, and thy raiment was of fine linen, and silk and broidered work. Thou didst eat fine flour and honey and oil, and thou was exceeding beautiful, and thou didst prosper into a kingdom. And thy renown went forth among the heathen for thy beauty, for it was perfect through my comeliness, which I had put upon thee, say Yahweh. And we can definitely read in the time of Solomon how that all nations basically came onto the nation of Israel. As the prophecy in Isaiah said that we possessed it but for a little while, right? So there we go, right there and then. And it goes on to say that, we trust in our own beauty and basically turn from Yahweh Shem Shai. But as you stated, this is happening again. We've been decked again. We've been washed again. We basically been adorned again. Our beauty and our glory is coming back. Even the reputation among the heathen through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai, through this doctrine, through our conduct, you know, ultimately the great salvation, which is first and foremost to the glory and praise and honor of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai and his elect, right? So that is actually the point that we're actually boiling down to at this point in time, right? Hey, shalom, shalom. Um, Going on to Ezekiel. No, that was it for Ezekiel. Right now, this is Isaiah 61. Start at verse 10. It says, I will greatly rejoice in Yahweh. My soul shall be joyful in my power. For he had clothed me with the garments of salvation. He had covered me with the robe of righteousness. As a bridegroom decketh himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorneth herself with jewels. So you see that being clothed with righteousness and with salvation. That is the bride basically going being decked to the bride to the bridegroom. The bridegroom being who? Yahushai, right? It says, for as the earth bringeth forth her bud, and as the garden causeth the things that are sown in it to spring forth, so Yahweh will cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all nations. Exactly. All of that will be done through what? Through Israel, right? Next precept, Isaiah 62, starting at verse 5. It says, as a young man married a virgin, so shall thy sons marry thee, and as the bridegroom rejoiceth over the bride, so shall they rejoice over thee. So shall thy God rejoice over thee. Right? It says, I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, which shall never hold their peace day or night. Ye that make mention of the Lord, keep not silence, and give him no rest till he establish, until he make Jerusalem a praise in the earth. Right? And that is it. That is what it said in Ezekiel, that he actually spoke unto Jerusalem in Ezekiel 16. I thought I started at verse 3. Right? And that is what we're doing in order to be to be that bride, to be adorned with all those with righteousness and salvation, to being built up and to get glory. We keep on walking in this doctrine through faith in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, right? And as the last the verse 7 says, and give him no rest till he establish, until he make Jerusalem a praise in the earth. Because ultimately that is what our glory being restored, right? That is us basically being married back to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, right? Next verse, or next precept, 2 Corinthians 11 verse 2, it says, for I am jealous over you with godly jealousy, for I have espoused you to one husband, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to Hamashiach. Right? So with this doctrine, we're supposed to be as what? As chaste virgins unto Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Also in Revelation, it stated that these are virgins which were not defiled. As a matter of fact, let me see if we can find it real quick. Revelation, right? Revelation 14 verse 4 says, as a matter of fact, let me just start up more. Revelation 14 verse 1, it says, and I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Zion, and with him an hundred 40 and 4,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. And they sung as it were a new song before the throne, and before the four beasts and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 140 and 4,000, which were redeemed from the earth, which is what? The bride. Right? As the fourth verse will explain, it says, these are they which were not defiled with women, meaning what? False philosophies and wayward doctrines, and basically the ways of the heathen, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whosoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb. Right? So these are the we're not ruling we have that form of that number. Where those virgins that were not defiled with women, meaning what? As stated before, the wayward doctrine, right? Um, Going into the definition, right? Let me the second definition says, a man who abstains from all uncleanness and whoredom, attendant on idolatry. Right? So it refers to also idolatry and basically keeping the laws to the best of their abilities, walking in the doctrine of the Most High, right? Through his son Yahushai. And so has kept his chastity, meaning that he basically being pure, being washed, as the previous precepts were alluding to, right? Anything else here? And it says, these follow the lambs whithersoever it goeth, right? And verse 5 says, and in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God. Exactly. Being pure and chaste virgins, just like Paul compared the elect to virgins, as you know, the various parables referring to Yahweh as the bridegroom and the elect being the virgins, right? Uh, Next precept is Revelation 21, verse 2 says, and I saw a holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Right? What were we adorned with? Isaiah we broke it down already, right? Salvation and righteousness, right? And I heard a great voice of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, right? Which shows that it was what? It was a similitude. And he will do well with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God. Exactly, because the word to marry or to wed basically means to join. It's just a joining. So we are being rejoined or being reconciled with our power, right? That is why it's likened it unto a wedding. But as you know, in the parable Matthew 25, where it tells you about when it say one came to the wedding without a wedding garment, and basically what got thrown out. So when they come into the wedding, the bride has to be dressed a particular way. Anybody go to a wedding and see a bride, not wearing that white and not decked out in the silver and or the gold or whatever, not decked out in jewelry, basically looking appealing for the husband on that day. They might be like, hey, what kind of bride is this? This can't be my bride. The bridegroom now go want that. So you basically have to get well cleaned up and adorn yourself for the coming of the Lord, right? And the Lord actually ensure that He provide with what is necessary, which is the doctrine, so that we can be ready unto His coming, right? Verse 3 says, and I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, oh, read that already, verse 4, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. Exactly, because while we're being adorned, it's a bit of a painful process, a rigorous process. As the scriptures say, oh, acceptable men are are found in what are made through the furnace of adversity, right? In second, hold on, let me see if we can find that really quick. I think it's in the book of Sirach, yeah. All right. Second, Sirach or Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 5 says, for gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Even in the world, you have a women say it pain to look good, because I'm always have to do them nails and them have to walk in a heels and all of them things. If you ever see even my brother get ready for a wedding, it's like a whole heap of thing. Here I have to do another type of thing, but it's basically in a figurative sense, it's the same thing for us and the Lord. We have to do what is necessary and basically get prepared for his coming, get prepared to be joined. So we're basically going through our tribulation, the persecution, fighting against the flesh, praying for strength in faith, praying for strength in wisdom, you know, praying for that pure and great character, having praying that the Lord keep his Holy Spirit upon us, you know, that comes with sorrow. Even some of us are going to have to glorify the Lord in death, so it all of that will be passed away upon on that day, right? Uh, right, verse chapter Revelation 21 verse 9. It says, and there came unto me out of the seven angels, one of the seven angels, which had the seven vials full of the seven last plagues, and talked with me, saying, come hither, and I will shew thee the bride, the Lamb's wife. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and shewed me the great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God. So in the first couple of verses from chapter two, verse 2 going down, it shows you that the new Jerusalem, that holy city, was actually men, right? As what was that? Verse 3 states that the tabernacle of God is with men, right? So it's showing that great city are the men that actually went through the tribulation and stood stiffly for Yahweh Shem Shai, right? And they are the bride that are the Lamb's wife, right? Going back to what was that, Second Corinthians, right? And the final precept, yeah, that was the final precept. So hey, just as the parable is explained, right? It shows that you need to have the the garments, right? Hey, I'm going actually going to get a few from the comment board as well, and I'm going to find that precept in Matthew as well. In regards to the garment, having that with that wedding garment. Uh, Matthew 22, starting at verse 11, it says, and when the king came in to see the guests, he saw there a man which had not on a wedding garment. And he said unto him, Friend, how camest thou in hither, not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless. Exactly, in those days, if you're speechless, then go ahead, you definitely have to have a garment, right? Then said the king to his servants, Bind him hand and foot, and take him away, and cast him out, and cast him into utter darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen. Exactly. So if you're in this truth, you have to do your best, unto your how Hashem or shy, so that you don't get found without your garment, because at the end of the day, if you don't have that, then you won't be delivered, right? So you actually push as best as you can through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, right? The first precept, Isaiah 52, verse 1, taking these from the comment board, says, Awake, awake, put on thy strength, O Zion, put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city. From henceforth there shall no more come into thee the uncircumcised and the unclean. Exactly. Which again goes back to what the holy city, the bride, putting on that beautiful garment, right? So we need to ensure that we're actually adorning ourselves for the Lord's coming, because we are being adorned through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shemir Shai, right? The second verse says, Shake thyself from the dust, arise and sit down, O Jerusalem, loose thyself from the bands of thy neck, O captive daughter of Zion. Exactly, because what the salvation is coming, right? We're going to adorn ourselves with salvation as well. So all of this is actually building up, as even the precept in Ezekiel tell you that we were washed, from the blood, that we were basically being cleansed. So it says, shake thyself from the dust and arise. We're going to lose the bonds of our captivity, both from a spiritual standpoint and also from a physical standpoint, because guess what? The Lord Yahweh is actually sending Yahweh to come and redeem us, right? As the scripture states in Isaiah 63 that, or Isaiah 62, that the day of vengeance is in his heart, and the day of his redeemed is come, right? And with all these prophecies being popping off right, left, and center, you can tell that, look, we're at that time, right? Next precept from the comment board, Revelation 19, verse 7, it says, Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife had made herself ready. Exactly. Which is basically all that I've been saying since night. Have to make ourselves ready as we are being adorned. So don't when the Lord give you the knowledge and the understanding and the wisdom, or bring you through whatever scenario or challenges you need to go through to make yourself perfect. Don't stop with the chain all time hand, or fight him when I try to get the thing on. Like I said, look here, I don't want to get married, we don't want this, we don't want that. No, you have to humble yourself and go through the process, so that peradventure will be found worthy to actually receive salvation. We found worthy for the Lord to actually extend mercy unto us. Right? Verse verse 8 says, And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white. For the fine linen is the righteousness of the saints. Exactly. You have to put on that righteousness, right? You have to put on that righteousness. and the garments of salvation, right? So now is the time, hey, we're always going to, ensure that you have a holy conversation, meaning the way of life, the way you conduct yourself in this truth, the way you conduct yourself on a daily basis through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahshua is very important because that is what will determine your salvation. You know, even Apostle Gabar always says, a lot of guys don't know that a major part of this truth is character. The character says it all, The character is actually the scripture tell that the Lord look at on the hearts of men. So that is what it actually boils down to, and we have to pray that we have that righteous character, right? Verse 9 says, and he said unto me, right, blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he said unto me, these are the true saints of God. Exactly, because you have the 144,000, which is the governing body, and you have the remainder of the third, which comprises of the whole elect. So and there's basically different levels to that, as you said, the governing body and the followers, those who actually take heed to what the teachers and the prophets were saying, the believers and the helps, bearing households and things like that. Right? Whatever spirit or whatever office the Lord put on you, and I execute that to the best of your ability through righteousness. Right? So I'm just going to read this precept once more and then close out. Revelation 19, verse 9. And he said unto me, right, blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he said unto me, these are the true saints of God. So, hey, if you want guests, you need to make sure that you have on a wedding garment. And if you're actually the bride, you have to ensure that you still adorn yourself appropriately. You have to make sure, say, you have on the wedding garment. Because if you're found without a garment, then you won't be delivered, right? So with that, really hope that this was edifying to the body. Once more, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and shalom to the brothers in the highways and byways pushing this word in all sincerity and truth. The sisters, the believers, the helps. Shalom.